Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jiva and welcome back for kind of like a more casual, chill weekend reading vlog. I decided to start one even though it's gonna be kind of like a hectic weekend because I have work tomorrow and I'm probably gonna be at work all day, but I still wanted to do something. Partially because I also just wanted to share with you the excitement of the new Shadow and Bone season dropping. Guys, are y'all watching Shadow and Bone? Have y'all seen the second season already? Because so far it's been kind of crazy. I've seen mixed reactions, honestly. Like, the only reason, honestly, I'm watching Shadow and Bone is because they have the Six of Crows characters in it as well. So it's kind of like the driving force of the series, in my opinion at least. It's so much better because it has the Six of Crows characters in it. I will admit the actors definitely give new life to the Shadow and Bone characters, and it's the only reason why I even care about their storylines at all. But there's something about the Six of Crows characters, they're just so fun. Especially because the actors that play them are just so perfect for their roles. It's almost like seeing the characters like walk out of the book and they just became the characters, you know what I mean? It's not often that an adaptation really manages to capture the relationships and the personality of each character as well as this one does. So yeah, I think it just makes it so much more fun to actually see the adaptation of Six of Crows. Even though technically, like, people have been criticizing the show for adapting the Crooked Kingdom first, which I guess it makes sense because they used a lot of the storyline from Crooked Kingdom for the second season, even though we haven't really seen the heist from Six of Crows yet, you know. So like, I understand why they would complain, but on the other hand, the showrunners actually made it make sense that it would happen like this. So I personally like don't care. I'm just enjoying like joining the ride and just going along with everything that's happening. Especially since, oh my god, like, everybody's been talking so far about seeing Kaz's flashbacks to his childhood, and now that it's actually happening, it's so heartbreaking. It's actually so intense, and especially like freaking Freddie Carter does such a good job of and like acting out the way these memories from the past really affect him, both like physically. It's kind of like you can physically see the effects that the memories have on him and everything that's happened to him so far. So yeah, I really applaud these actors. They're doing such an amazing job, seriously. I don't think we could have asked for like a better crew of actors because they are seriously doing such a good job. So yeah, that's the show. I think I'm now on like episode 4. Maybe I just finished episode 4. I was definitely already on episode 4. I can't remember whether I finished it already or not. But yeah, we have Violet. Yeah, that's like another exciting thing about this season. We have Violet, and he's just the most adorable, mousy little character, but he's so freaking dangerous and smart, and he's like, I don't know, he's just so violent, you know? He really, another one that just captured the character so well, and I thought it would be impossible. Like, Violet was the character Jasper and Violet, I feel like they have such a distinct personality in the book. They would have been like the hardest ones to capture, but the actors are just doing an insanely good job. Seriously, it's kind of like fate. So, and especially that they look the part as well. Like, how did they find them? Mad respect, seriously. So yeah, that's for the show. So part of the reading vlog is definitely gonna be dedicated to that. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers, so no spoilers either about the books or the TV shows. But if you want to talk spoilers in the comments, like, feel free, but just flag them if you're gonna be doing that, so nobody gets spoiled by accident. Yeah, I'm also gonna be reading at this point. I don't know what I'm gonna be reading. I still have to decide that, but I just know that I need a little break. I've been making my way through the Last Hour series by Cassandra Clare for the past couple of weeks, so I just seriously feel like I need a little break. Some of the books that I'm considering reading are actually right here. So first up we have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is the most likely book that I'm actually going to be reading. Then I also have The Devil Makes 3 by Tori Bovalino, and then another book that I just had high on my priority list since the beginning of the year is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. So this is the new book in the Folk of the Air. It's not in the series, it's just in the same world. We follow Jude's brother, whose name I can't remember right now. What is it again? Yeah, it's about him. And another character, like about a stolen heir, because the brother isn't actually a stolen heir. There's another character in here who's a stolen heir, I believe. So yeah, this is another contender, but as of right now, I just don't know what I'm gonna be in the mood for. I'm definitely gonna be mood reading. So whichever of these I'm feeling the most later on in the day, I think I'm just gonna go with that. So yeah, there's actually so many things I've been meaning to like talk with you about. That's kind of why I decided on this chilled reading vlog. Because some news that actually has had me almost crying in the past couple of days was that Sarah J. Maas just recently dropped the title of the third book in the Crescent City series, and alongside that a synopsis, which I'm very afraid to read because I still haven't read the second book in that series, which is House of Water and something. I don't know, the second book, you know, the blue one. I still haven't read it yet. So I'm afraid of actually being spoiled for what is gonna happen. But I've seen people on Twitter freak out because apparently there's going to be a crossover. And this is the part that almost made me cry. It's gonna be a crossover between different series that Sarah J. Maas has written. So that means we're gonna have some characters from Crescent City actually meeting either the characters from Fire, was it? Throne of Glass? From the Throne of Glass series or the Akamov series. And you know what it means. We can have like Bryce meeting either Aileen and Rowan, or Bryce meeting Feyre and Rysand. And either of those combinations just are too much to handle, I'm not gonna lie. It's just been an emotional roller coaster. But I'm so freaking excited. But that also means I have to make my way through the unread Sarah J. Maas books that I still have. I haven't read the fourth book in the Akamov series, and I still haven't read, obviously, like the Crescent City book 2, which I can. Is it House of Sky and Breath? I think it's House of Sky and Breath, right? So yeah, that's the second book that I still haven't read, but apparently I'm gonna have to read it by the time January 2024 rolls around, because that's when the third book comes out. That's free. So yeah, gotta read it by then, and then just enjoy, you know, the bookish multiverse of madness, and I think it's just gonna be epic. So yeah, let me know if any of you guys are excited about that as well, because it's just gonna be... I don't think anybody's ready for that, but yeah, it's gonna be epic either way. So for now, I just think I'm gonna enjoy my reading break for a little bit longer, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and read a bit more. I'll probably read a bit more of the other book that I'm reading for the other reading vlog, which is Chain of Thorns, because that's the one that I kind of want to make more progress with right now before going back to... I've actually been writing my master's thesis, so this is kind of like the other big thing that's been happening recently. I started writing a couple of months ago, and just it's been hectic, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like only recently I've been able to fall into a bit of like a routine, and just, you know, just balancing everything from writing to working and also finding time to actually read something. So yeah, lately I feel like it's been fine, and I'm just enjoying that it's getting a little bit calmer and less stressful. But yeah, today I just want to read something, and I wanted to start this vlog, so that's what we're doing. I'm gonna go and read my book for a little bit, and I think I'm gonna watch another episode of Shadow and Bone during lunch. So I'm probably gonna check in with you later, and in the evening I'm just gonna decide what I'm gonna read for this reading vlog. Something among these books, but yeah, I don't know yet. Okay everybody, so I've just spent the last hour or so rearranging the furniture in my room, and I could not be happier right now. For some reason the old arrangement was just, I don't know, it wasn't doing it for me anymore, so I decided to change some things around, and I feel like now it's just much nicer, much cozier, and somehow it feels a little bit more intimate. So yeah, I'm loving that. And let me just quickly show you what I did. So this is what this corner looks like now. I have the bed turned the other way around. Before it was up against the wall by like the long side or something, I don't know. But yeah, this is what it looks like now. I actually have kind of like a fruit path here to sit down on my bed and enjoy it. I also freed up my clothes rack there in the back, because this way it's just much easier to actually access my clothes. And this way I actually realized I have to go through like my clothes and donate some of the things that I don't wear anymore. So I'm also gonna be doing that soon, but probably tomorrow, because today I have another project on my mind, and that is rearranging my bookshelf. Like, I just keep looking at it and it's just looking so empty, you know what I mean? Because ever since I moved some like my book collection downstairs to my other bookshelf, there's just been a bit of a like an empty space on this shelf, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Whenever I look at the shelf, I notice all like the empty shelf space, like here, this shelf especially so empty. That was like my fantasy shelf, and of course most of my fantasy books are now downstairs. So I have to do something about it, and I think I'm actually gonna go in right now and rearrange the bookshelf. Another change is also that I have a little kind of like TBR shelf right here, so this is kind of like my nightstand. But this way I can actually have books on the top shelves, because before it was like right here underneath the window, and because the sun was constantly hitting the books on the shelf, it yellowed the pages. So the pages got a bit of a tan. And this way, since the books are over there a little bit farther away from the window and the sun, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm gonna see, obviously, but for now I don't think it's gonna happen, especially on like rainy days like today. But yeah, like I said, my project for today is just to rearrange my bookshelves, and I think I'm gonna listen to an audiobook while I do that. Okay, time to reveal the end result. So, like, the weird thing about this bookshelf now is that the collection is so eclectic that it's kind of like a mismatch of everything. So it's not looking as aesthetically pleasing as I would have liked, but at least it looks fuller now, you know what I mean? It's not looking as empty. I still need to like clean up the bottom shelf. I have a pile of books right here that I'm thinking about unhauling, so I'm kind of like reserving that there until the time comes for me to make a decision whether to unhaul or not to unhaul. But yeah, my favorite shelf, definitely this one. It looks so pretty. I made Rick Riordan the main character of my fantasy shelf in my room now, and I'm kind of not mad about it. It looks so pretty. I used to be a huge fan of like black covers and spines, but seeing this is definitely changing my mind. I love the way these colors come together. So yeah, big fan. I didn't really change anything up there, so that's all the same. I tried to do something with this shelf, but it's just such a mismatch. I hate it when series do this. I know I should have gotten like the same edition of these two books, but I hate it when I have a series in different editions. So definitely would rather get all the superhero series stuff books in this edition than the black one, because I just think it looks prettier, as I just established, in the colorful ones. So yeah, but for now it's just gonna have to do. Yeah, I don't know, not much has changed, but the shelf definitely looks fuller, so that's fine. So I'm actually gonna go right now and have something to eat while I'm gonna rewatch episode 3 and 4 of the Shadow&bone season 2, because those two episodes are like peak Super characters episodes, and I can't wait to actually rewatch them for some of these moments. So yeah, let's go.
intro.
Hey everybody, so I'm actually back and this is some very interesting lighting that we're having right now. Is this the golden hour that everybody is so obsessed with? Is this what it's all about? This is literally natural lighting. I do have some like decorative lights on in the living room, but like that's it. This is so interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna take advantage of it while it's still here. Because I do have an update, so I will have to admit though, I tried to like take a break from the last hour series, but it ended up calling to me just a little bit too strong. So I went back and actually finished the last hour series before continuing with Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, because it was like the best thing to do. That way I can now actually fully focus on what's happening in Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, because that's what both of the books deserve, both the last hour series and the lovely book by TJ Klune. So yeah, I'm actually here, but it's the next weekend now, so it's still gonna be a weekend reading vlog, just another weekend. I feel like that's been happening a lot recently, but yeah, so I've actually been reading this book. I'm now already on page 236, so I'm about to start chapter 6, and the book has been like, it's been pretty good so far. I do have some like mixed feelings about it. The book has kind of surprised me in a couple of ways, some good ways but also a couple of bad ways. So first thing is, let me tell you what the book is about in case you haven't heard about The Whispering Door by TJ Klune. It's actually about a man in his like mid-40s, mid-50s. I'm actually not sure how old he was, and he ends up dying. His name is Wallace Price. He ends up dying and he is swept away by a reaper and taken away to the ferryman's tea shop. So the ferryman is kind of like the guy who helps you cross into the afterlife, whatever comes in the afterlife, you know. He's kind of the guy who's there to kind of like help you figure your shit out before you actually are ready to move on. So we meet Hugo and his tea shop, which is where Wallace is going to be spending some time between life and death. I feel like that's all I should tell you about the synopsis without really giving away too much. But at the same time, I don't feel like there's really too much to give away. Because the story is pretty much just about Wallace now having this space and people around him where he can reflect on his life and everything that he's gone through and the kind of person that he was before he died. And that sounds like the most lovely premise I could have imagined, but the execution just isn't really tickling my bells. Is that how the saying goes? And I think I'm slowly starting to realize why, and I think it's because everything is just kept so much on the surface level. So obviously we have Wallace kind of reflecting on the life that he's led before he died, you know, up to his death, and he's not really happy about it. But he doesn't really like deep dive into why, into the kind of person that he was. And even though like there is noticeable change in his character, there's just no reason why the change happened, except that he's now been spending time around people that he actually likes and that actually seem to like him. Is it because he's not preoccupied with his work anymore and he actually has time and the attention to focus on the people around him? Like, I feel like there is no real like line that we could follow of his development. Basically, it was just like a switch turned on overnight, and he was a bad guy before and now he's a good guy. You know, I feel like he didn't really, even though he was trying to reflect, everything was so surface level that we don't really see the transformation happened. We're just told that he's transformed, if you know what I mean. So I'm a little bit bothered by that, because I really would have liked to actually see a very fleshed out story about him, you know, figuring out that, oh, this and this is what I was doing wrong and this is how I should do it. So yeah, I feel like we don't really get that, but at the same time, like, it's not bad what we do get. What's starting to annoy me just a little bit though is this cliche sentences that I feel like at this point all the characters keep saying, how it's all about your choice. It's like, I feel like these sentences are filler sentences that actually keep the characters from having any real deep conversations. Whenever Hugo and Wallace get together, and they almost start having kind of like a meaningful conversation about life and what it means to be alive and what it means now that they're dead. What does it all mean? But it ends up just being, it's yours to figure out what it all means. That's what they come down to, and it's so frustrating. You know what I mean? I want something deep from these characters. It's still a very enjoyable read either way because the main characters just make it so good. I love all their interactions. May is such a cutie and she's such a softie for all these other main characters. Like, she's seriously the cutest. Hugo is just the best. I actually love Hugo a lot. If he were like a real person, I would love to actually meet him and sit down with him and have tea together or something, because I feel like you could have such interesting conversation with him. This is what's so frustrating. He seems like he has so much depth, but then you can't really see his depth through the conversations that he's having with Wallace. You know, you can kind of see that it's there, but you can't really reach for it through this book. When I went into it, I was expecting kind of like a fairy tale-esque type of story. What I got was just much more realistic. It's kind of like going into a story expecting magic, and what you end up getting is more sciencey. There's no science in this, but I'm just saying it's much more like lifelike than really fairy tale-like. I actually also started listening to an audiobook, so I'm currently listening to this one. It's gonna show up. It's a book called Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell by Taj McCoy. It's so good. I'm listening to the audiobook and the audiobook is amazing. It's kind of like a story. I personally like in the spring to go with some contemporary stories that deal with like characters reinventing themselves. I really enjoy listening to that kind of thing during spring, because it's like a season of just everything waking up and the days getting brighter, sunnier, and just longer in general. So I feel like I'm also looking for this kind of energy in the books that I'm like reading and consuming, and this one is just freaking perfect. So we have the main character Savvy, who ends up, or her boyfriend ends up breaking up with her after 6 years of being together, and it completely like sweeps the world from under her feet. She doesn't really know who she is now. Like, she's trying to figure that out, and she also is trying to just work on herself, because her boyfriend broke up with her in a very brutal way, and she's now slowly picking up the pieces of herself, trying to put herself back together, figure out who she is without her boyfriend, and just learn how to love herself. That's like the biggest thing. She's learning how to love herself, doing all these things that you know, she hasn't had a chance to do while she was in a relationship, and working her ass off. It's just very lovely. It's also very inspiring. I love the way that she talks about yoga, and I do yoga a lot, and I just love the way that Savvy feels about yoga, and he's actually discovering the benefits of yoga. I don't think I've ever read a book before where the main character is like actively getting into yoga, so this time, like it being the first time, it's just really cool to see. And yeah, I just really admire her for that. So yeah, very very nice. I'm really enjoying the audiobook as well. The main love interest is kind of dreamy. Savvy's best friends are just the best friends a girl can possibly have. So yeah, it's just a really good book, and I would actually highly recommend it if you're looking for something like that. Especially right now during spring, if you're looking for some like positive energy in your life, definitely would recommend. Yeah, that's the reading update for now. We don't have the golden hour lighting anymore, but we have the artificial lights on. So I feel like this is good as well. I have actually watched through the entire season of Shadow and Bone now. Holy shit. There's talks about a possible Six of Crows spin-off happening, and Netflix, like, I don't know what you're waiting for. You should have confirmed it like yesterday. But yeah, there's possibly gonna be a Six of Crows spin-off being done, and I just am obsessed with it because the cast of the show is just perfect. Like, I just honestly do not want to let go of this cast. They're just all so perfect. I feel like every single person that was cast, especially for the Six of Crows characters, was perfect for that role. And the reason why I admire them and respect them so much isn't just because they're obviously very talented and obviously look the part and act the part of the characters they are portraying. What I admire the most is their respect and how protective they are of the characters that they are portraying. I feel like they've definitely all read the book. At least they give off the impression that they have all read the books. And I feel like they just really respect their characters' arcs and their backstories and what they've gone through, and they are very protective of that. I actually think if the writers tried to like make them do something with their character that was completely like unaligned with what the characters in the books would do, they would actually have some words about it and would complain about it. At least that's what I think, because they just, especially Amita and Freddie, and also Jack and Kit and Danielle. And I feel like all 6 of them would actually just want to stick to whatever was like the original plot in the books. You know, they wouldn't want to stray away from those characters too much. I think it's just because they also know how much the fans love the books as well, and how protective the fans are of the characters and the storylines and everything. So yeah, I just feel like they are fans of the show and of the books themselves, so they also like feel what we feel. And I just, yeah, it's a whole thing, and I can't actually imagine us losing them as a cast for a potential Six of Crows spin-off, because that would be the biggest crime Netflix has ever done. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch through the season again. I actually rewatched the first season as well, and it was really good. I do understand why people complain that the second season was kind of rushed through, because compared to like the slow development and building of the first season, the second season definitely feels a lot more rushed. But that's just because they were trying to tell so much with just one season, you know. They basically adapted 2 books into an 8-episode season, so it's kind of very admirable that they were still able to do that and actually have everything make sense and connect the way that it does. So like, props to the writers, props to the actors, props to everybody involved in the Shadow and Bone series, and hopefully we're actually gonna get more. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go and finish my book now. I'm gonna finish Under the Whispering Door first, and then we're gonna and then I'm also gonna finish my audiobook. So that's gonna be my cozy little weekend. Okay, everybody, so I actually finished reading Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. And I also finished the book with mixed feelings, because I think I just couldn't get it out of my head. Like, I don't know whether it's the book or whether it's just my brain, but I just couldn't stop overthinking everything. It could just be, like, I realized it could just be my profession, because I am a psychologist. And reading some of these conversations between the characters gave me a bit of a headache, because they just, I don't think, in my opinion, they weren't handled very well. I can see, like, objectively why people find these books so cozy and why it's a lot of people's comfort read, but I just personally couldn't like fully enjoy everything the book has to offer, because I just could not turn my brain off. I just couldn't get it out of my brain, you know what I mean? But yeah, so my main issue remains with some of the conversations that the main characters were having. So obviously some of the characters that we meet in here have died. And we can kind of see, even with Wallace, and then with another character, that actually another ghost character that comes to the tea shop after Wallace, we can see that dying can actually be very traumatizing. So obviously when the ghost characters arrive to the tea shop, it is with the trauma of dying, especially when it's a more violent death. The trauma is still very fresh in their minds. It's literally like the first thing and the only thing they can really think about. And I just don't think like the services that were offered at the tea shop would be really enough for them to work through the trauma, so they would then actually be able to feel peace and like move toward whatever the hell came after death, and after this like midlife or whatever you want to call this place between life and death, you know? I just felt so frustrated whenever I was reading some passages where the conversations with these characters were just not handled very well. There is one like sentence in particular that probably was supposed to like communicate empathy, but to me it just had the opposite effect. It's like the sentence like, I can't really understand what you're going through, only you can understand that. I hate that sentence so much, because you're not even trying to understand. You're just kind of throwing up this like brick wall that's making the other person even more isolated and feel alone in their pain and everything they're going through. Like, at least try to understand it, try to talk it out with them. So yeah, that gave me a bit of a headache. It just means that some of the relationships between the characters in here didn't feel as genuine as they could have, because I just didn't quite understand the connection, because they didn't really have any like deep, meaningful conversations. So yeah, it's got me confused. Like I said, I don't know whether anybody else actually had this problem of not really feeling the depth of the story. But yeah, I definitely can see though the cozy vibes. Like, it's not giving like the philosophical answers to questions that I was expecting, like about life and death and what it means to be in between both. So there was no being like philosophical about it. It was very much rooted in real life. It's basically kind of like a continuation of their lives, but in a different setting. That's what it felt like. So the book felt very much rooted in like the real world and in the everyday life routine kind of. But I guess that's where kind of like the coziness and the comfort comes from, because we're just following these characters who came together and just became a family. I love every single character in here. From Hugo is just, he's so nice, and I love how much of his heart he's actually giving into the thing that he does, both with like his tea shop and the way he's ferrying ghosts. And then we also have Nelson and May, which are just, Nelson was such a grandfather character. Like, he is basically where all the wisdom of the story came from. I feel like he was the only character who really had some depth to what he shared with the others. We also had May, who's just like the sunshine in here. She's like the sunshine character. I love her so much. And then we have the dog, who's actually a ghost. So we have a ghost dog in here called Apollo, and he is the most adorable little puppy ever, even though he's like a big dog. He's like a big puppy. But he was still such an excitable little puppy, little dog, big dog, whatever, you know, but he was adorable. Yeah, he's probably my favorite part of the story, actually, not gonna lie. So yeah, I understand why people find it so comforting and so cozy, but I just personally, like I said, I couldn't enjoy it to the fullest because I kept thinking about the things that bothered me about the story. And I actually also have a little update on Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell, because I'm almost done with that book as well. I think I have like about half an hour of the audiobook left. I couldn't finish it the last time I was listening to it, but I just find the story so much fun. I love how much the main characters, like the main character Savvy and then her best friends, are like hyping each other up. I live for their friendship, seriously. It's worth a read solely because of their friendship, but then like the romance is also just kind of like a bonus point. I will just say though, because I went to add the book on Goodreads to my currently reading shelf, and I saw quite a few people being disappointed by the story because it wasn't really all that body positive. So if you would find things like revenge body and dieting actually triggering, I wouldn't recommend the book to you, because the main character does actually start out going on this journey of getting into shape because she wants to get a revenge body, to get revenge on her ex-boyfriend and the ugly way that he actually broke up with her. So yeah, she decides to take up tennis, which actually she used to like train for. She used to do tennis a lot when she was like in high school and college, and then she kind of like just let it go because her priorities kind of got all messed up. She also decides to go on a diet and takes up yoga. So yeah, if those are things that would trigger you, I wouldn't recommend reading them. But I personally would say that like the message underneath all the things that the main character goes through, because she definitely goes on a journey, kind of like the main thing that's pushing her through is to actually learn self-love and self-acceptance, and to actually figure out the priorities that she really needs to focus on. So I think that's like the main message of the story. It's not so much about getting revenge body and going on a diet. That's just part of the things that the main character does that helps her realize about like the things that she should care about and the things that she shouldn't care about, and you know, just straightening out her priorities. At least that's what I think. Obviously we all are going to react to a story differently, but I was a bit surprised by how many people didn't really like the story, because I think it's very like, it's really cool, it's very inspiring. The main character is very inspiring. She just does things and cares about people with her whole entire heart, like from her family to her friends to her, even her job. Like she just cares about everything fully. Like there's 100% or nothing, I feel like, with the main character. So yeah, I find her very precious. I love it so much. I'm gonna tell you more when I finish the story, but I don't think like anything major is still going to happen. I only have like half an hour left. I think I'm actually gonna go and journal next a little bit, because I really want to do some journaling. I want to do some spreads for the Shadow and Bone series. Oh my god guys, this is something I need to tell you about, because I have been on Twitter a little bit more ever since Shadow and Bone came out. Like I used to not care about Twitter at all, but now I feel like that's like my main source of information for whether Shadow and Bone actually gets renewed, because there's people on there constantly tweeting about the show and I love them for it. So I feel like I'm checking Twitter daily recently, just waiting for the news whether the show is renewed or not. So far no news has been announced, but like it would be so stupid on Netflix if they didn't. Seriously, it would be so stupid if they don't give the Six of Crows characters a spin-off. There's so many people who care about these characters and the actors as well. It would literally make no sense for them not to renew it. But anyway, yeah, I've just been like, I feel like I've been front seat witness to so many fandom wars between the like Six of Crows fans and the Shadow and Bone fans, because obviously this last season, season 2 of Shadow and Bone, tried to push a lot of things, a lot of content into just 8 episodes, and a lot of people are feeling disappointed. And it doesn't really help that like the Shadow and Bone people kind of are trying to push Six of Crows content a little bit more than like the trilogy content. Like they're constantly tweeting about the crows, and they've released like some bloopers about the crows and behind the scenes photos, and I think clips also about the crows or something. So like the showrunners definitely seem to care a lot about the crows, and it's actually caused quite a few fights between the two fandoms. So it's just been so dramatic. I hope for everybody's sake that we get a Six of Crows spin-off and Shadow and Bone gets season 3, because otherwise it's gonna be a bloodbath until, you know, the rest of the days. People just care about these characters a lot. You can definitely tell how much passion people have for these two series and like the TV show now as well, because they are very passionate in those fights. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay everybody, so I'm back to actually wrap up this reading vlog a little bit later, because I actually realized I never got around to letting you know that I finished reading Savage Sheldon Feels Good as Hell by Taj McCoy, and it ended up just being one of the sweetest contemporaries that I've read in a while. It just ended on such a sweet note, and everything just felt very satisfying the way it wrapped up. So I feel really good about this book. And I'm definitely curious about the author's like other books. I saw that the author is actually coming out with a new book soon. I think it's like a spring release. It could already have been published or it's coming out soon, but I'm not sure. But it's definitely like a title that I'm really interested in, so I think I'm gonna be jumping into it when it actually comes out. And besides that, yeah, I'm still rewatching season 2 of Shadow and Bone. I think I'm like on my 5th rewatch now, because there still hasn't been any confirmation about neither the Shadow and Bone season 3 or a Six of Crows spin-off. Netflix is definitely taking their sweet time to actually confirm this show and whether it's gonna be renewed or not, and especially about the spin-off, because everybody has been begging for the spin-off for months now, for weeks now. And still no word from Netflix. There's been some suspicious behavior from them that insinuates there might be a spin-off happening, but no official like announcement has been made yet. So I'm just gonna continue rewatching the show until, you know, the announcement is made and we actually know what's the future of this adaptation. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I really want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm gonna see you in the next video. Until then, I hope you're having a great day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye bye!